Unlocking marital bliss.
It's a Sunday afternoon, and you're watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with Miss Iris Rod, the only show that will tell you truth concerning marriage. Tonight, I have a very special guest, an author, acclaimed author, amazing woman, happily married, and she's enjoying bliss. And we want to talk about the covenant versus a contract. What do we do when we get married? Do we enter a contract or we enter a covenant? The understanding that there's a difference between the two determines the bliss in your marriage. And I would like you to listen attentively this very afternoon, because you shall not remain the same if you will understand the difference between a covenant and a contract. Join me in a minute. Hey, once again, it's Miss Iris Rod, right here on Unlocking Marital Bliss. My life is full of bliss, and you know what? I am happily married. And the reason I come here every Sunday in your living room is to let you know that you can enjoy bliss the same way I do. You see, if you're going to succeed in everything or anything, whatever it may be, you don't listen to losers in that aspect. You listen to those that are able to make it or have made it, okay? And in that case, you don't tune into any other show in the land that talks about marriage, because the real show is right here, Unlocking Marital Bliss. And tonight, I'm so excited, I have a guest. This is a wonderful friend, a wonderful young woman, but on passion when it comes to marriage. She is amazing when it comes to marriage. And I will take the pleasure to actually give her an opportunity to introduce herself. You see, when a woman is married, I really don't want to introduce them. I want to give them the pleasure to introduce themselves. So please, I give the pleasure to my beautiful guest. Would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you very much, Pastor Rod Cyrus, for having me. My name is Evelyn Mutengu Nwagaba. I insist on my maiden name because it helps me to remember where I come from, where I came from to where I am today.
Evelyn Mutengu Nwagaba. So your maiden name is Mutengu or Nwagaba? Mutengu. Nwagaba belongs to who?
To my dear loving husband.
So you're married?
Of course. I'm married, happily married.
Happily married.
For 17 years.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
You want to beat me at that? 17 years.
Yes.
When's your anniversary?
13th December.
Oh, okay. So 13th December, you're making 17 or you're going to be 18?
We'll make 18.
Oh, man. You went ahead of me.
Yes, I did.
You went ahead of me. So 13th December, you're making 18. That is so beautiful. Your husband is Nwagaba. And you said your maiden name is Mutengu. Where are you coming from? I don't hear a Mutengu from the West, because Nwagaba must talk about the West.
Yeah.
And Mutengu is from where?
From the East. I am a girl from Kamuli. My father used to say the wise men came from the East and went to the West. This time, the wise girl comes from the East, goes to the West.
Oh, wow. Yeah. All the wise come from the East. Okay, I submit. Now, when you come in and you say you're from the East, how do you even dare cross to go to the West? East and West never meet except in love?
Except in love.
Oh, come
Yes,
on.
except in love.
You hear her. She says East and West will never meet, only except in love. And that's what she did. So you met Mr. Nwagaba. He's probably watching right now.
I guess he is. He's out of the city. He's up country, but he will be. He's definitely.
But you see, the beauty is UBC, we're all over, even across the borders of Uganda. So he's definitely watching you wherever he is. He's definitely watching you. So you met him. You got married in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. December the 13th.
Yes.
How did you ever make it? I mean, you're a Mutengu and you crossed over to Nwagaba. How did that work out? It's not easy in the time and day we're living in. East and West meeting. How did that work out? Did you ever go through and it was all
No
so
way.
smooth and-
Nothing is smooth in marriage. Nothing is smooth. You see, the Bible actually says that marriage is a mystery.
Yeah.
And so I realized that when I met my husband,
Okay.
that it was a mystery. It was a mystery. Yes. So we met on. I had gone to do missions
Okay.
in a secondary school in Kabale.
When you talk about missions, what do you mean?
I'd gone to do
Preach the gospel.
preach the gospel.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, as a young girl.
VAC. In
Essex
my
Vac.
senior six VAC.
Okay.
I went with my mentor by then,
Okay.
my very good dear friend. He's now a Reverend Onesimus Asimwe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he opened the doors for me in ministry. I call him my father.
Okay.
And so we met on mission ground, but we just met and said hello and never met again until I joined campus. And when we met at campus, it was as if God had already orchestrated it. So I usually tell my husband the Alex Mukulu song, Ojo demo nkwane wankwana bobinyo, because
Wow.
I feel like he didn't really do what other guys go through.
Come on.
Yeah, he asked me out.
And you were like, yes.
No, I didn't say yes, but it was straightforward. It was not let's be friends, no. He said, I want us to date. And I'm like, dude, I don't know you. Like, we met a year ago on the mission ground, and I'm seeing you at campus. Like, we can't just do this, so I need time. Let me get to know you. Let's be friends.
Yeah.
So we became friends for a while. And then about 3 months later, he said, but I want us to date. Yeah. So I
And
said,
you're thinking,
I'm like, do you think you know me enough for us to go down that road? He said, I am convinced that you're the one I want. Yeah, he was. I then got to realize that Bachiga don't mix their words.
he's a Mchiga.
Yes.
Okay.
They put it out on the table as it is. And so I played hard to get and said, let me think about it, let me pray about it. The prayerful girl I was.
Yeah.
Let me pray about it, let me think about it, I need more
And
time.
were you really feeling something for this dude at that point?
No, actually no. Actually no.
You just wanted to go in your prayer, carry on with your missions, and
Because at that time I actually went to God and said, God, our plan was that we do missions and study.
yes.
And marriage was not in our plan right
this.
now. Marriage would come after school.
you
Please
trying to
note, this was first year of campus.
first year at campus, and a guy is telling you, let's date.
Yes.
What a mix. What did you come to do at campus? To date?
And I was coming from a single school
Oh.
of girls only. I know nothing to do with boys. And here is a guy telling me, I want us to date. And so I play hard to get. But I seriously went to God and said, this was not part of the plan. And God didn't answer. There was silence. So when I met him again, I didn't give him a response. So we used to meet at Chapel, St. Francis Chapel.
Okay.
I used to go to do prayer, lunch hour, and all that. He was a Franciscan through and through, who had gotten born again in secondary school from a Catholic background. So he was really trying to maintain his faith.
Yes.
And so I put him off. And the next time we meet, I'm going for field work, internship in
Yeah.
sorority. So he meets me at the bus and he's like, hi, sweetheart. I'm like,
Oh, Lord.
I'm not your sweetheart. Though he won't admit to that, right now he keeps saying it's me who said sweetheart.
Oh, come on.
So I said hi and I told him I was going away. He took my number for the first time. And he said, I'll check on you.
Now that you're in your, what, second year?
No, still first year, but
Okay.
end of second sem.
Uh-huh.
And so I got to sorority. He calls, numbers didn't go through. By then it was that season of climb a hill, look for a mountain, look for a tree. Yeah.
Grab the signal.
Yes. So he when I came back to Kampala, he complained that I intentionally switched off my phone. And I told him no, I just didn't get any calls. So I think that helped to soften the ground, so we became close friends. I didn't say yes at that time, but I said yes in that year. In October, I said, let's give it a try. So we gave it a try. And then a month later, I told him, I don't think we're actually meant to do this, so please walk your way. I'll go my way. You have my blessing. If this is meant to be, God will work it out. Yeah. Why did I do that?
That was my next question.
Yeah. So I had talked to someone who I believed in a lot.
Okay.
Who I listened to a lot. And when I told them there was this guy, blah, 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 he's like, I don't think that's the guy for you. Yeah.
Now we can see how much we can influence somebody's life. If we're not sensitive enough to God's voice, we can lead them astray.
So when he said that, I went back to this young gentleman and I told him, let's call it quits. If we are meant to be, God will work it out. He couldn't believe me. He looked at me straight in the eye and said, what are you saying? I said, we're breaking up.
Wow.
We're breaking up, but you have my blessing. If you find another girl, God bless you. If I find another guy, I will let you know, and I hope I have your blessing.
You hope you have my blessing when you're walking away from me?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
So we went apart, and that was October. But within that period when we were apart, I got different people coming to me and telling me how they had had a dream about me getting married to a certain guy that they were seeing in a dream, but they were not seeing in my life. And one particular elderly woman said, you may despise this guy, but that's the guy God has given you. So now I took it upon myself to pray and really seek God. And I told God, I don't think I can hear for myself right now because I may be very conflicted. So use someone I respect.
Yes.
And so he used a friend of mine. I don't even think she remembers this, Unia Kima, pastor. Now she's in the US. So we used to sing together. So she came and sang me a song that God had told her to sing for me.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it was a CC Winans Listen to Your Heart.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
So when that happened,
Wow.
yeah, when that happened, I was like, okay, God, I now need to hear you. I used to lead prayer in my campus days in my hostel, so would get up to pray. So one of those days I get up to pray and God told me, I resist the proud, I give grace to the humble. That was my delivery line. There, at that point, I knew.
You said, okay.
I said, God, this is it. So I asked him what next. He said, go apologize to this young man.
Oh, whoa. Hey, you got a beautiful young girl at university going to apologize to a man she's told it's over.
Yeah.
You and I? Mm-mm. And now you're going, Tell me how that went.
Wow. So I call him and I tell him I need to see him, and he's like, why? I thought you don't want anything to do with me.
Oh, whoa.
So I said, no, I actually have
something
something
to
to
do with
say to you. So we agreed to meet. I had my friends with me. So I went with my friends.
For what?
Just to ensure that I don't change my mind along the way.
So you needed to
I
be
needed
supported.
Support. I needed support, but I also believed in these girls because we prayed together.
And they had agreed it's Nwagaba.
Well, they knew that there was something special.
Yeah.
First of all, they knew I had never fallen in love like that. And they kept wondering what was going on. So they said, we will go with you.
To apologize.
Yes.
Now, I love that because commonly, it's quite common that usually when the girl is coming to meet a guy and she's got these escorts around, my friend things may not be so good for the guy because it's usually going to be, let's go get him. You know, let's go assure him he cannot be part of you.
Exactly.
And this time they were coming to assure him he is part of you. Wow.
So they met him, said hi, and they were the first to apologize. And then I told him I was sorry. Yeah.
Come on. How do you do that?
I know, like they are really sweethearts. These girls, they are my history. Even when we are in different places, I know that I can call them.
Are they around in UG or they're out?
So Unia is out. Susan, who is my matron, is around.
Oh, wow.
Susan Mutebimate.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the way you maintain friendship. You know, because that's more than 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And you're still together.
Still together. And so I apologized to this guy and I said, now I really want us to give this a second go. And not for us, but just to see what God wants to do with us.
I love that. Not for us, but to see what God wants to do with us. So you're entering a relationship not for you, but for another being.
For a greater being.
A greater being. Now that is where the power is. For a greater being. I'll come back to that. Conclude this story.
So when I apologized, he's like, you know, I was waiting because I knew that God had spoken to me about you.
This is the Muchiga man telling you that. He didn't slap you. Okay.
And so we hugged.
Oh.
And then we decided, let's see where this goes. So we walked a journey. We dated 3 years. But as soon as we reconciled, a few weeks later, he was flying out of the country.
Okay.
Yeah. and so before he flew out, he told me, the day he was flying out, he told me, I want you to commit that you're going to be my wife. And he had a ring, and he gave me a ring, and he said, will you marry me? Yeah. So I was like, but we're just starting to date. He said, I know, but I know that I want you to be my wife. So will you marry me? Will you wait for me?
I love that kind of man.
And it was...
Will you wait for me? Yes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you hear that? Will you wait for me? Here is my ring. Will you marry me? And this is a man talking to a girl who just reconciled. Remember, this girl walked away and say, you ain't the one. And then she comes back. And when she comes back, you're flying out and you take a commitment. That is what we call a man. The man. Mr. Nwagaba, we want to celebrate you right here at Unlocking Marital Bliss and let you know that is what real men do. You commit. You're not trying to find what is good for you, but you're trying to see how to protect this girl. And that's what he was doing. I'm walking away, but wait for me. And this is the only way I can protect you. I'm coming back for you. And what was going on in your mind? Did you say yes, or once again, we had to go through the roller coaster ride? No, wait, no. I'm going to pray about it.
At that point, there was no praying about it because I knew that I had committed for a greater good. Yeah. So this was 2000. So I asked him, wait for how long? And he said our wedding will be in 2003. He had a date, he had a time, and I was like...
I just love your husband.
So I said, this is 2000. You're telling me to wait until 2003. He said yes. On the 13th of December at 1 o'clock at KPC, because that's where I used to go to church.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm going to wait. It didn't make sense. But I was like, okay, if this is what you're saying, we will go in this together, so I'll wait. So I put on his ring, escorted him to the airport, he boarded the plane and left.
Do you know what? There's something that is really moving me when you talk about Mr. Nwagaba. Seems he's just doing things the way I did them.
Oh.
The way I did them. 2001, I met her. And I walked up to her. I didn't even tell her, let's date. I said, I'm going to marry you. And she looked at me and was like, marry me? You don't even know me. Who are you?
Like, that's not a way to ask a girl out.
Uh-huh. I just told her, I'm going to marry you. And she looked at me and said, no. I said, don't worry, I'm not marrying you now. I'm going to marry you in 2004 because we're going to talk for 3 years. So that was 2001, and I told her 2004. And she looked at me very confused. Just the way Nwagaba told you, I'm going to marry you 3 years from now. I believe men need to take responsibility to that level. You meet a woman, somebody's daughter, you don't begin saying, oh, tomorrow, the other day, I'm not sure, or you know what, I'm still analyzing, I'm still, you know this nonsense. Let me try this one, Monica, Anita, and the Pinky Ponky. No, the man comes and commits straight away.
Because that's maturity.
That's maturity. In fact, the girls watching us, you know, this is your camera. The girls watching us, before we go further, I want you to speak to a girl out there. How to tell whether this man is in for it. Some girls have been dating for 5 years, 6 years. No, they're not sure because the man don't say nothing. The man says, be patient. We're looking for money.
Yeah, still making money.
We're still making money. I need to build a house. They're in the 7th year and you're watching. You are out there and you're watching. 7th year, what do you tell that young girl?
I'll tell that young girl, if he's not committed at the start,
Yeah.
and he's not committed by the end of the first year, what does he need for him to be committed? And so if you're not sure with yourself, because I believe that when you say we're going to date, you know that it's for marriage. It's not for kaundo kakubye dirisa tugeze kwano tugeze keri. No,
Yeah.
it's for I want to commit to this person. Why do we date for long? If we're going to live a whole life together, we get to know each other within that time.
Yes.
So commit to me as we start this journey, and then the rest of the journey we will get to know who we are, but we already an end goal in mind. It's not for guesswork of let's try out, and then after 7 years you're going to dump me because then you realize that I'm not the girl, but you have wasted my time.
7 years have gone. No, that is so dangerous. And ladies out there really are hurting. Somebody's dated for 7 years, and even in churches today, especially when it comes to our church boys, you know, they date for 7 years and they're doing nothing. And in the meantime, the girl is buying him clothes, buying him the suits, paying his rent, doing all this nonsense. And this born-again believer is just saying, doing nothing. And after 7 years, he gets a new girl who's flies away with her and says, oh, now I discover it wasn't you. I think ladies need to be so alert.
Exactly. Ladies need to have their eyes open.
Yeah.
But also when you are going into this relationship, one thing that I determined was I'm not going to go into this relationship unadvisedly.
Yes.
I sought counsel, but I also had a strong support system.
Yes.
And at times you'll find that as girls, when we think we have fallen in love, then we'll cut out all wisdom.
That's true.
And think, oh, because my heart is flipping and my stomach is turning in knots, I won't listen to anyone else. But other people are seeing much more than you are seeing, because at that time, you are blinded. At that time, you are not seeing any.
You're moving more by your emotions.
Yes. Not even by your heart, but emotions.
Not your heart, by
no,
emotions.
exactly. And so one thing that I kept doing is I kept asking my friends to pray for me and listening on God for me, so that in the event that I'm not sure enough,
God
I
can
will
deliver
test,
you.
yes, I will test what I'm hearing by them,
Yes.
but also seek someone mature enough to say, are you sure that was God?
Yes.
Yeah, because at every stage in life, you need someone more mature in the faith, but also someone that you can, some people that you can call your support system. In my book, I call them the 4 friends, the 4 stretcher friends.
Yes.
The people that you know, If you're being fake, they will tell you. If you're being funny, they will speak to you and you will listen.
I love that. And I know we're winding up, just want to take a short break and then we'll be back. But you mentioned something, and that's where we're going to start from. This man committed to you. You committed by saying, whatever it takes, I'm entering this for a being greater than I. We'll be back in a minute as we talk about the commitment, which is the covenant.
Unlocking marital bliss. Unlocking marital bliss.
Thank you once again for coming back. You're still watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with me, Cyrus Rod, your number one show. We succeed in marriage. We don't fail. We are not losers in marriage, and we're here to help you succeed. Before we took a break, I was still talking to my beautiful guest. She was telling me about, of all that she said, the man committed to her. Mr. Nwagaba said, will you wait for me? Here is the ring. I'm going away for 3 years. I'll be back. Whoa. And you said, yes. You went to the airport, and that was it. And you held on. You resisted any giving up. You put your foot down. I wanted you to mention something and talk about a covenant. The way this guy committed to you, I never looked back. Because we've seen boys who say, here is the ring. A year down the road, they're giving the same ring to somebody else.
Yeah, they change their mind.
They change their mind. And yet this guy was in another country and you were in Uganda and you remained faithful. So the question is going to be, is this what you call a covenant when you entered into marriage? That he was committed to you, you were committed to him? How would you define a covenant?
In my understanding, a covenant is between two people before a greater being. But also, it's between actually three people. And the three people mean me, my partner, and the one who's greater than them all, who's God. That's a covenant.
So between you, your partner, and the one greater than you, you commit yourself to somebody that you will do certain things and that nothing will stop you. So when you're married, is marriage, let me ask, is marriage a covenant or a contract?
Marriage is a covenant because, see, unless you don't go before a crowd of witnesses and swear before a greater being.
In other words, if you don't have you need a greater being to be in the equation for you to have a covenant. If the greater being is not acknowledged, you can settle for a contract.
You can settle for a contract. Because, see,
how do you acknowledge this greater being in your relationship?
you acknowledge a greater being. One, you can choose to have a priest or a reverend, a pastor before you as a representative of God on earth.
Okay.
But see, when you are saying these vows, you say before God and before men.
Yes.
So when I am making my vow, I know that first of all, it is before God.
Yes.
Even in the presence of people. That's why the priest will always say, we are gathered here before you, which is before the people,
Yes.
to present these two before you. And then he asks if there's anything that anyone would want to present that would stop them. Yeah? So, before people.
Yes.
But then he also says, we present this before God. Yeah. And the Bible also talks about a covenant being an oath.
Yes.
That if you look at, when you go through the Bible, there are various covenants.
Yes.
Abraham had a covenant with God.
Yes.
And there was an oath.
Yes.
So for every covenant, there is an oath.
Yeah.
If,
As a
if,
commitment.
as a commitment. So when I'm swearing,
assurance.
an assurance, when I'm swearing, I'm not swearing before these people that are before me.
Say that again.
When I'm swearing,
Yeah.
whatever I'm swearing, is not for these people before me.
Mm-hmm.
These people are a cloud of witnesses,
Witnesses,
which is
okay.
talked about in Hebrews 13.
Yes.
But I'm swearing before a greater than these people.
Come on.
And because I'm swearing before a greater than these people, I know that my marriage is not about me, but about the one before whom I am swearing, who is God.
So my marriage is not about me, but it's about the greater one. So everything is about him. That's where you mentioned earlier on in our conversation that you said, okay, I'm doing this for God. Not even for yourself, because some people will enter marriage thinking it's about them and what they can get. And I think that's where the danger is.
That's where the problem is. Because you see, when you get into a situation, or when you walk in life and you don't know the purpose, then there will be abuse. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable.
Absolutely.
If I walk into a marriage knowing that it is not about me,
Thank you.
it is very difficult for me to abuse it.
Because you always know it's about God. It's not about my expectations, but his expectations of me.
Yes.
Okay.
And as you walk the journey, at times our minds, our thoughts are clouded
Yes.
by what we encounter.
Yes.
Whatever you encounter then will test your oath. And at that point, you will then question yourself. But if you did not know the purpose for which you entered into this thing to begin with, then it is easy for you to say, I am giving up. It is easy for you to say, if he's done this, then I am walking. Why? Because what was the purpose for it to begin with? If you walk in, because in this day and age, many of us get married because all our friends are married, because there's
The wrong
pressure from
purpose.
family for us to get
I
married,
wanna have kids.
because
I
of
wanna have
status.
sex.
Because of status, I want to get a particular job and I will only get it if I am married, or I want to be known as so and so, Mrs. So and so. I will be respected more.
I hear you.
But it's not because it is to fulfill the purpose of God on earth.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so it's very easy for you then to abuse the relationship.
Because you don't know the purpose. That is so true. Now that you talk about this covenant, you swear before God. And along the way, you encounter some obstacles. And that is supposed to test your oath, not to destroy your covenant. And this is where many people are falling away. They give up during the test. They think the test has come to destroy the covenant, yet it has come to test their oath and make them better, make the marriage better.
Make you stronger.
Yes, make you stronger and not weaker, you know? So the commitment doesn't die because of the obstacles you encounter. You need to tell some people, I want you to look in this camera. I want you to repeat that. Commitment doesn't die. The covenant doesn't die because of some obstacles. The obstacles come to
Strengthen you.
talk to our viewers directly from your heart.
From my heart.
Yes, about that. Because many covenants, people are claiming covenants are breaking. But I believe that covenant never ends until you die.
Exactly. A covenant will never end until you die. You see, that's why we said till death do us part. It doesn't break. It's me who chooses to walk away.
But the covenant remains.
The covenant remains. Even when I walk away, no matter the circumstances, it doesn't annul the power of the covenant. It doesn't annul the power of God. It just means that I have moved. I have moved. It's the same way you have a mobile phone and you need network.
Yes.
The network doesn't move. It's you who moves away from the network. So if I move away from my positioning because of a situation that has come, it doesn't make the covenant less than what it was at the beginning.
Yes.
The covenant is still as strong. It's how I perceive that covenant that makes me think whether I am, who I was at the point of making that covenant or not.
Yes.
And what I would like to encourage many people to think through today is, while you make those vows before God and before men,
Yes.
do you think through them? Because fact is, we are excited when we're making them. Your heart is flipping. You're excited that finally you get to sleep with this man or with this woman.
Yes.
But then
You're not thinking about-
you're not thinking beyond that day.
That
And
it's
yet,
about taking responsibility
yes,
for
and
somebody's
yet,
child.
and yet when you actually say in sickness and in health, in riches and in poverty, for better or worse, you're actually saying, I am not looking at in health, in riches.
You're literally focusing on the poverty, the worse, the sickness.
Then you can stand. That is when covenant comes into effect. That when
Yes.
it is tested,
It is tested.
then you can stand. When all hell is breaking loose, forgive my French, when you're having in-law issues,
Yes.
when money is not coming as you hoped,
Come on
when
now.
when the dreams have not materialized like you
Yes.
dreamt during your dating time,
Yes.
when this man changes from who you thought he was, does that annul the covenant? No, it doesn't. When I change, it doesn't annul the covenant. The covenant still stays. It is me who has changed. It is me who needs to find my way back to the covenant.
Allow me to say this. You've put it out so good. When I change, when things change, it does not annul the covenant. The covenant is still alive and well and kicking. It doesn't annul because there's no money, so the covenant is dead. Because you're not giving birth to children, so the covenant is dead. I need to go look out for another girl. Then you're not having enough money, then the covenant is dead. That is proper teaching about the covenant. And you said it is the poverty part, the disease part, the worst part that actually tests the covenant, tests you who made the covenant. Because in faithfulness, you never know how somebody is faithful until you go on to the other side. Because everybody can say, I'm faithful in riches. I'm faithful when you're healthy. I'm faithful when
When
when everything is going right. But actually, faithfulness is only noticed when everything is not going right. And you say, even then, I will not be moved. I will not be shaken.
See, I want to give you the story of the story that's trending currently,
Yes.
the royal family,
Uh-huh.
Harry and Meghan.
Talk to me about these two.
So Harry is from the royal family. They have all the money, they have all the prestige. Name it. Just the name of being a royal
Come on.
places you at a certain level.
Yes.
And then he goes and falls in love with a commoner.
Commoner.
Someone who's not known, someone who's, forgive me for going there, mixed race, someone who's been in the film industry, which is expected to have all this negative publicity.
Yes.
But they're in love. They walk down the aisle and make their vows before God and before this great cloud of witnesses. Now, their cloud of witnesses was worse than mine and yours,
Yeah, absolutely.
because they had the entire world watching.
Yes.
And then all hell breaks loose. The royal family, as we know it, is too English. This American girl knows nothing about how to cut tea before the
No
queen.
tradition, no culture.
I don't even know if she knew how to hold her teacup. You know,
You know, when you get to America, I think their only culture is the media and Hollywood.
now here she is, she has to know how to hold a cup of tea on a saucer, how to sit modestly, how to cut tea before the queen, and how to
Yeah.
carry herself and
Like a
dress a
lady.
certain way.
Yeah.
And everyone is against her because she's not a royal, because she doesn't know how to carry herself.
Yes.
But the gentleman thing that Harry does is to defend her and fight for her and stand by her and decide to let go of all his wealth and the prestige that his family name carries, and he goes away with this girl. Whoever knew that would happen? That a man would forsake his family. I don't know if it actually forsaking, but he says from his speech that he still respects and honors them, he loves them, but he will protect his family.
Now that takes a man.
That takes a man. And anyone else,
How many men can stand like that and say, I mean, here is Harry who's got all the wealth and is willing to walk away from it to protect some commoner. And here we have this dude from Uganda, Channa Mukaka, down there. He owns nothing, but he's ready to run at every slightest wind.
yes, yes.
I love the example you've brought of Harry.
And he stood because he made a covenant. I'm praying that their marriage will be an example for years to come, for many to look at and say, if he could walk away just for the sake of his marriage, I can walk away. Because let me tell you, when you have made that vow before God, your first family is this young lady or this man.
Thank you.
It's not where you have come from. And so he let go. He even let go of all the royal wealth. And he said all he went with is the little wealth that his mom had put aside for him.
I love that. Now, oh man, this is so sweet. The test of the covenant. Because he gave up the prestige, he gave up all the royalty. And this is the example of Jesus Christ. When he came to love you and I, he gave it up. He said, Daddy, I'm going. I'm going with that girl down there on earth. I'm going to die for her. I'm going to lay everything down for her. I'm going to give her myself. You see, at times I tell people that women should be given, and some guys are like, no way, what about us? Who's going to give me? You see, the problem is it's not about who's going to give you. If you know how to give a woman, you'll never ask who's going to give you. All you need is to discover how to give a woman, because women should be given. And the reality is this: he gave his everything. And look where we are. We are better people because of him. When you read the Bible, he says, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and go and be united to his wife, and the two shall become one. It's a real covenant. That word leave in Hebrew means to abandon, to forsake, which literally doesn't mean that, okay, you treat them as trash, no, but that from the time you walk, your wife is priority, your family is no longer priority. This family is priority. So when you come together, your family, my family, come as witnesses to see the birth of a new family. You don't marry the whole of my family. I don't marry the whole of your family. So if my family is trying to destroy you, I have the right to stop them and protect you. If they kick me out, that's part of walking away. And what Harry did, we need some real men like that in our world today. Not those who say, my mother says she doesn't love you.
And so I will go with my mother.
I will go with my, oh Lord, have mercy. Dude, you're watching me and that's what you're doing? You're walking with your mother because she don't love your wife? You're being a boy. And you better wake up. When you married that girl, that became your wife. She became priority. Mama took the last seat in the car, okay? Your wife took the first seat. Oh no, but she sold pancakes to educate me. Well, she sold pancakes to educate you, not to marry you, okay? So you have a woman, and that's how you ought to be. Thank you for that example of Harry. It's a covenant. You stand.
Because see, when the Bible says you live and cleave,
You don't quit.
you don't quit. Because cleaving means, you see, I'll use the example of 2 salt shakers, 2 salt tins.
Okay.
When you cleave, you are stuck together. The best way I can say it is using super glue.
Super glue, yes.
That if you were to tear us apart, a part of me will go
With you.
with,
With the other.
Yes, with the other.
So there's
if
gonna
if
be
I leave,
pain.
a part of me will stay, but there is a pain if you decide to tear us apart. That only happens when you live and cleave. And the Bible doesn't say it's the woman. It says
He says it's the man that does the cleaving. It's the man that does the cleaving. And there's been a weakness. Most men are thinking about when they hear the word, a man shall leave, they don't listen to the next word, cleave. So they keep leaving. They meet you, they leave for another. They meet her, they leave for another. They leave the home, they keep leaving. They never sit down and say, hey, I leave to cleave, to get stuck to this woman. I will hold on to her. And this means even when she commits adultery, I forgive her. I stay. I don't say, I need a new girl.
Because see, let me tell you, when there is adultery in a picture of marriage,
Yeah, that's where some people think the covenant died.
that doesn't mean the covenant has died.
Thank you.
That means that either of you moved away and created room for temptation to come in.
Yes.
And the enemy will always come. See, in the
Yes.
Garden of Eden,
Yes.
the snake came.
Yes.
I don't know if Eve had moved from Adam or Adam had moved, but
Actually, Adam, no, you know what? Actually, Adam refused to stop the lady from eating the fruit. It was his responsibility to correct her and guide her. My.
So when temptation comes and either of us falls, the covenant doesn't say then throw that person away and walk.
Two are better than one. When one falls,
The other picks him up. You see, that's the
That's it.
covenant. That's the purpose. Because then you are not seeing yourself as the one who is hurt.
yes.
No, you are seeing yourself as the one who is fallen as well.
Thank you.
Yeah? And when you have fallen, then you're looking to God to help you pick each other up.
Thank
So then there's no finger pointing,
Thank you.
but you're both looking at the cross for healing. So I keep telling people, you have messed up. There's been pain. Fine, adultery comes with pain. But who says you can't forgive adultery?
Thank you.
Who says? Because we normally say, no, but Jesus said in the Bible that when there is adultery, then you can divorce. But Jesus didn't say that. He said Moses permitted it because of the hardness of your hearts. But in the beginning, it wasn't
It
so.
wasn't so.
So in other words, when we say, because he's cheated, I will walk, because she's cheated, I will walk or she will walk, then you are giving room to the enemy to celebrate and become victorious. Because at that point, the enemy is not your spouse.
That's it.
The enemy
Is
is
an
the enemy,
Yes.
who's the devil, who has come in between to create separation.
That's true.
And when that happens, then you cease to see the covenant as it should be.
Yes.
Then you have conformed to the standards of the world.
This world.
Because the world expects that when either of you messes up, you
Walk
kick
away.
the other one out or you walk away.
So the world hates the covenant because that's how God relates.
Exactly.
God doesn't relate on contract.
No.
He relates on covenant.
Exactly. Because the contract today is and tomorrow is not.
That's it.
can change your mind.
And in fact, in a contract, you literally are protecting all your rights, protecting yourself. But in a covenant, you're giving yourself away. You're being vulnerable so somebody else may benefit.
Exactly. In a covenant, you are saying, I die to my will,
Yes.
I die to who I am, I choose to surrender and submit to the other person.
Wow.
Yes. And covenant
real
tests
time.
covenant tests everything about you and what you believe.
And your faithfulness.
Yes. Because if you have not been grounded to understand it and to understand why God called you to begin with,
Yeah.
then it will not be covenant, because then you think you can work out. You think you can have
Anytime.
plan B, plan C.
Actually,
and other plans.
actually, based on what you're saying, that means even the marriage is not your own. The marriage belongs to the owner,
Marriage belongs
to God. So you don't just wake up in the morning and say, hey, God, I'm out. Hey, I put you together. I've not yet given you the right to walk out. So you don't just say, I walk out. Evelyn, this is so interesting. I must have you back on this set.
Thank you.
I must have you back on this set. But before we really go off set, you've talked about the covenant and all of this. You are an author.
Yes, sir.
And you've written a book about marriage. Wow. There's a few books. You see, I don't read many books on marriage. I'll be honest with our audience. But I've read your book. And I assure you, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Every person viewing, you need to grab this book. What's the title of the book?
The title of the book is Healing Balm. How to make your marriage the best it can be.
How to make your marriage the best it can be. How do I access that book? I've read it, but our viewers need to find out where the book is.
The book is available on Jumia at 35,000.
Okay.
The book is available in a restock.
Okay.
The book is also available with all our marketing agents, so you can call.
Can you tell us the phone numbers, please?
Right now it's my number 0700 220011
0700 220011.
or 0778 730 205 78 730 205. You can call those numbers and we can be able to deliver to you wherever you are at a small safe border cost or whatever
Yes.
means of transport. Yes.
Thank you so much. Now, you see, you talk about books. You need to read The Healing Balm. It's genuine, it's original, it's full of life. It's not just, there are many books on the shelves about marriage. Forget it. Get The Healing Balm. I recommend it. Get The Healing Balm. I recommend it. Call those numbers and you will get yourself a copy and your life will not remain the same. Your last word as we get out of here.
My last word, Jimmy Evans loves to say that every marriage has 100% chance of success, and I strongly believe him. And I want to speak to someone out there. Maybe you have questioned why you got married. Maybe you have questioned if your marriage is meant to last. Every marriage has 100% chance of success. Only if you let God be God and die to yourself, because with every covenant, you die that the other might live. And the other is God, who's greater. Thank you.
Hallelujah. You heard her. That's Evelyn Nwagaba. And, oh, you didn't say something to Mr. Nwagaba. Come on, I can't close this. She's got to do it. That's our tradition. Talk to Mr. Nwagaba.
Oh, Mr. Nwagaba, my love, my heartbeat. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for 17 glorious years, some of tears, but yet we have gone through them together. Lots of laughter, lots of learning together, lots of dreaming together. Thank you for being the man that you are, the man that keeps his word. I love you, I love you, I love you.
Yes, those were not my words. They're Evelyn to Nwagaba. So thank you for tuning in. As usual, you are enjoying Unlocking Marital Bliss. Never move away from this place. Thank you for watching Unlocking Marital Bliss. We're talking about a covenant and a contract. Covenant versus a contract. I want you to understand something. When you get to a covenant, you literally are giving, embracing responsibilities and giving away your rights. That's a covenant. When it comes to contract, you literally are protecting your rights and never accepting responsibilities. Having understood that, you heard what my guest said. She committed, the man committed, and they're not about to walk away. Maybe your spouse has committed adultery. It doesn't break the covenant. No, the covenant stays real. It stays until death stops it. Nothing else can. See you next time, and remember, marriage is easy, ignorance is hard.
Unlocking Marital Bliss.